or almost afternoon, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. We're going to start the meeting of the Bridges and Tunnels. First aspect is public comments. Are there any public speakers? Mr. Bowden?
Leroy Valentin Fernandez, 25 years old. He died a week ago Sunday. Got his name Thursday night at Hastings. There was a group of people who gathered to remember what happened. Every year I get to light, from here on in, I get to light a memorial candle because in a Jewish tradition, we remember people. He's going to be the person I remember every year for the rest of my life. Why is that important? It's important because we live in a world of change. Bridges and Tunnels happens to be one of the units of the MTA that does change, that does listen, and is interested in moving forward. And so I say thank you to the crew that works for Bridges and Tunnels, because there's a lot of good people. They listen. Some guy named Mark Rosekind, he's head of the Highway Transportation Safety Board now. A couple of years ago, when he was in an accident in Texas on Memorial Day where a trailer was hit by a train, he was in charge. I asked him about some stuff, and he emailed me back. He said, tradition is hard to change. Yeah, Mark was right. Tradition is hard to change. I spoke about it a couple of meetings earlier today. Long Island Railroad and MTA have trouble changing their traditions of using certain railroad cars and lights. Yet in the transit meeting, I kind of lost it because somebody there had been so nice and changed the life of my grandson to the better. So tradition is a very, very difficult thing, and I urge you all to think about things you've been doing for many years, and maybe it's time we did it a little differently. I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to work with some wonderful people, Bridges and Tunnels.
Thank you very much. Approval of the minutes of the May 2016 meeting. Second, any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Is there any change to the work plan?
No changes on the work plan.
No change to the work plan, so we'll go right to report on operations.
Right. Before I hand it over to Jim Fortunato, just a quick note. Very preliminary analysis. It looks like we may have had record traffic this past Friday. About 982,000 vehicles. This would be exceed the highest we had, which was back in 2003. So we'll finalize the numbers over the next month and let you know at the next meeting. And we may, it's possible next week we may hit another high. We'll see around the 4th of July weekend. But
Saturday was not much different.
Right.
I know.
It was not.
I was in it on Saturday.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right, Jim.
Jim.
Good afternoon. The report on operations begins on page 16. Traffic was higher in April with 25.5 million crossings as compared with 24.8 million crossings in April of 2015. This represents a 2.5% increase. Rainfall in April 2016 was 1.7 inches over 11 days, while April of 2015 saw a comparable 1.8 inches over 8 days. April 2016 gas prices averaged $2.17 per gallon, which was 35 cents lower than in April of 2015. Easy Pass volume increased by 3.2% in April of 2016 as compared to April of 2015, while crossings using cash and other payment methods declined 1.5%. Passenger car travel was up 2.9%, and other vehicle travel decreased by 1.5% from April of 2015. Preliminary monthly traffic figures for May of 2016 is 1.9% more than the same period last year. Memorial Day holiday weekend, Thursday through Monday, saw more than 4.2 million vehicles traveling through our facilities, representing a 5.16% increase from the 2015 Memorial Day holiday weekend in 2015. This ends the report on operations.
Any questions, comments? More and more people. It's amazing, amazing. More and more vehicles. Okay.
Safety report, Pashko?
Good afternoon. The report on safety is illustrated on page 30, in which we continue to highlight some of our most important lagging and leading indicators shown on the top and bottom tables. The report includes a 12-month rolling average of highlights the following performance indicators: customer collisions with injuries, employee accident reports, lost time injuries, and contractor injuries. The customer collision rate for this 12-month reporting period increased slightly from 5.68 to 6.33. Also, the rate for injury collisions went up slightly from 0.94 to 1.03. During the same reporting period, the total number of reported employee accidents dropped from 277 total cases to 237, which represents a decrease of 14.4%. The rate for the lost time injuries was also reduced slightly from 5.6 to 5.3, which represents a decrease of 5.4%. Finally, the contractor lost time injury rate decreased from 3.29 to 2.12, which represents a drop of 35.6%. In terms of our leading indicators shown on the bottom table, we continue to meet our goals, but would like to emphasize the number of construction safety inspections, which continued to increase during the month of April. Unless there are any questions or comments, this concludes my safety report.
Questions, comments? I find it interesting that employee rates go down, contractor rates go down, and customer rates go up at the same time. I assume that has some relation to the amount of traffic.
I think it's a good assumption.
Yes, yes, in that regard. So, because we're trying to put more people in the same area. We don't
That's right.
get more area. We have the same area with more cars and trucks in that regard. Okay.
Agreed.
Anybody else? That would be nice. Okay, Easy Pass?
Okay. The April Easy Pass report begins on page 31. Our market share for the month was 86%, 0.6% higher than the year before. A total of 21,005 Easy Pass accounts were opened in April, including more than 9,900 on-the-go accounts, more than 47% of the total. We actually sold more than 1,000 on-the-go tags in the lanes on, I believe, 3 different Saturdays over the last month. That concludes the Easy Pass report. If there are no questions,
It looks like
Andrew, put your microphone on. Go ahead.
the Cross Bay is the only crossing which actually had fewer Easy Pass customers.
just on a market, from the market share perspective, right, just slightly down. Right,
Slightly.
just, yeah,
Everything else is up.
yeah.
If nothing else, go ahead.
We'll go to the financial report, which begins on page 37. Toll revenue year-to-date through April was $582.3 million, 4.4%, $24.5 million higher than planned. Traffic was up 4.6% against the budget year-to-date. Preliminary May traffic is also up 2.2% against the budget, more than 588,000 vehicles, and revenue up 1% against the budget in May, almost 1.6 million. Year-to-year traffic is up 6.8% through April. That's 6.1 million vehicles, and as Jim said, preliminary May numbers are also up about 1.9%. On the expense side, total expenses were about $141.5 million through April, about $18 million, 11.3% lower than planned. Non-labor costs, 10.8% lower than planned, about $7 million. That's primarily due to the timing of expenses. particularly in the maintenance and other operating contracts category, and labor costs were lower as well by almost $11 million, 11.6%, and that's primarily due to payroll vacancies. Overtime, which is included in the labor costs, down almost 18% against plan, $1.7 million year-to-date. The mild winter weather, of course, helped reduce those costs for the first several months. And our support to mass transit, more than $362.3 million through April. That's more than $57 million, 18.8% better than planned. That concludes the financial report. If there are no questions,
Any questions on finances?
all good
Okay.
news, and we'll
Yep.
move on to the capital program. Joe Keane.
Good afternoon. The report on the capital program begins on page 52. In May, there were a total of 6 commitments made in the amount of $26 million. Year-to-date, 37 commitments totaling $63 million, or 41% of our annual commitment plan of $151.8 million, have been made. The most significant commitment made in May is in connection with a memorandum of agreement with New York City Department of Transportation for an enabling work for future direct connector ramp construction between the RFK Bridge and the Harlem River Drive. This commitment was in the amount of $22.9 million. There were 2 project completions planned and achieved in May, both at the Throgs Neck Bridge. These were for a structural repair project and a project for electronic security systems. Total value of these completions was $39.5 million. There were 42 task closeouts for $32.9 million in May, and year-to-date there have been 59 task-level closeouts totaling $76.8 million. Unless there are any questions, that completes the report.
And when is the RFK to Harlem River Drive supposed to be finished? That ramp, the new ramp?
It's slated to begin in 2019, and it'll probably be somewhere in the 2 to 3 year range.
Okay.
So
2021, 2022.
2022.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, procurements?
procurements. Gavin.
Good afternoon. Procurements start on page 65. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There's one competitive procurement, a modification to a personal service contract with the joint venture of WSP Cells and HMTB that adds funds for construction support services for contract RK-75, the interim rehabilitation of the Manhattan Plaza at the RFK Bridge, and also additional funds for support services for RK-65A, the Bronx Plaza structural rehabilitation. The value of this amendment is $1,932,508. And unless there are any questions, this procurement is described in detail in the enclosed staff summary.
Second, why does it say 7 years, 5 months contract? Can you just, what does that mean?
That's from beginning, the entire support of, not the construction, but the design and final construction support services. The initial design of the
Right. So this is only a little piece of all of that?
right.
Okay. Okay. This contract doesn't say 7 years and 5 months. I think that was my question.
Not the construction. no.
Right, right, okay, we hope not, right? We hope not, yes. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye? Opposed? Okay.
Concludes our agendas.
That includes the agenda. We motion, yeah, Chuck? Go ahead.
Point out that I'm getting a little tired of answering this question repeatedly from community boards. Henry Hudson Bridge. Time and again, the issue arises about expanding the bicycle lane on the bridge. My understanding, and that's why I wanted to get it on the record if it's right or wrong,
Right ahead.
is that A, it's a landmarked issue and you need to go through the state to get any change, and B, if you are to move the lane toward the traffic, that would have an adverse impact. Is there anybody who can tell me for the record why that has not been expanded? What the reasons are? Could somebody look into that? There is a recurring question as to whether or not the bicycle lane on the Henry Hudson Bridge, which is on the southbound side of the Henry Hudson Bridge, and which is fairly narrow. You can't have two bicycles pass one another. Recurring question has been, can it not be expanded by simply moving the barriers toward the center of the bridge?
Yeah.
It was my understanding years ago that that was not possible, A, because of the historic designation of that bridge, and B, because it was not feasible on a traffic standpoint. So if somebody could look at it and tell me if that is correct, if there's any other reason, or if you can change it.
Yeah, let us get you a complete answer. We'll get back to you on that.
Good.
Okay? All right. So we're done. Motion to adjourn, so be it. Thank you all very much. See you next month.